Hello and welcome to another edition of Box Office Quarterbacks. You're watching on our YouTube and or listening on your favorite podcast app, whether it be Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And today we're talking about a movie that has actually been around for a few months now, and one that I saw around the time it came out, and I've been trying to beg everybody in the group chat to come forth and watch for about 3 months now. It's called Everything Everywhere All at Once, and spoilers for later in the show, but I absolutely freaking love this movie. Movie of the year for me, and I'll get more into detail of it. A quick rundown for what that movie is. I don't know if you can really pigeonhole it into a drama. I mean, into a specific genre. It could be a drama, it could be a rom-com at times, it could be a comedy. It's an action adventure movie. It's also a sci-fi movie. It's full of a lot of different genres all in one. And the Daniels brothers really put together a fantastic movie here. And I'm joined by my friends Jeff and Ahmed. You guys have just now seen this movie. Ahmed, I believe you watched it today, right? What are y'all initial thoughts before we jump into all the other stuff?
Yeah, it's I regret not taking Gerald's advice earlier. Gerald was right. We should have done the movie when it came out. Shouldn't have waited until it was on video, so we'll get that out of the way. This is one of the most creative movies I've ever seen in my life. One of the most batshit crazy movies I've ever seen, too. And it's so fantastic. It's like what I wanted Doctor Strange into the multiverse of madness to be. I just love this movie.
Same. I don't have the same excuse. I wasn't around to watch the movie, but also it had been on my list for quite some time. There are a lot of movies that are on my list, and this is something that I can finally cross off. Thank you, Gerald. And I'm glad we're doing this because I have to talk to somebody about this movie. It's like you said, it's hard to describe. On the surface, it's a family drama, and then it kind of takes you on this whirlwind of action into sci-fi, and just it's everything that a multiversal show or a show about the multiverse wants to be. And to say that it's messy is an understatement, but that's just because it's supposed to be. It's so enigmatic that you're just like, just watch it. I can't tell you what it's about. Just freaking watch it.
Yeah, it's a hard one to kind of like explain, right? But I think you nailed it on the head. The first 20 minutes of this starts as a family drama, and a hell of a family drama. And let's make one thing clear: it is a family drama throughout. Um, Even though there is a big bad trying to take down every multiverse, that big bad, spoiler alert, ends up being a part of that family drama. And from the start, we get little nuances that I absolutely love in the family's everyday month and everyday life. And by the time we're 21 minutes in, and I rewatched a little bit of it today, about 80% of it today, to freshen up in it. But when Wayman speaks for Evelyn at the tax meeting at the IRS office, I feel at that point we already kind of understand their family dynamic. Evelyn settles. She wants to do everything and doesn't want to think of the money, and she just wants it until it's gone, really, because there's something missing in her life. Everything in her life has kind of been a failure or disappointment, and she doesn't know what she's good at. Meanwhile, Wayman wants to be that loyal husband. He wants to survive every day, put food on the table for his family, and cherish with his wife, while also knowing that he is a disappointment, silently telling us the entire universe they live in is actually the shittiest version of any universe out there. Before the movie actually straight up tells us that about an hour later. Um, this movie also, to me, introduces people to the idea of a multiverse better than Marvel ever really has in film adaptations or comic book movies, or really any movie has with a multiversal aspect to it. I think it really explains it and makes it, even though it's a difficult movie to explain, once you watch it, I believe it's kind of one of those, oh, now I can understand multiversal type movies and what they mean and how they work. And I really like the things they do to kind of bring in the multiverse. It's not some wizardy magic; it's technology. They have to do weird stuff. It is a little
Yeah.
bit of that magic stuff, like the cutting of the hands, eating a chapstick, whatever it may be. But it's just a whole bunch of wonky stuff that somehow fits together.
Yeah, it's so beautiful how everything ties together at the end. And yeah, like you said, the paper cuts, then you got to pee yourself or maybe confess your love to somebody who you don't even like. It's just so creative. And I was reading the trivia on IMDb. The Daniels, the directors of this movie, and all the VFX artists taught themselves how to do VFX. They had no background in it. So they learned all this stuff off of YouTube and everything like that. And this movie is just insane when it comes to visuals. Like there is so much stuff. Even like two rocks in the middle of the desert with googly eyes looks like such a Oscar winning shot. I love everything about it. And yeah, Gerald, like Marvel is trying to introduce us to the multiverse right now. This movie with no established content before it comes out, and they blow that whole uh, you know thing out of the water, and they do it arguably better than Marvel, and it's just amazing what these two filmmakers can do who are young and at the beginning of their careers. So I am very excited to see what these directors do moving forward, because this movie is one of the best movies of the year, could be the best movie of the year, one of the best movies in the last 5 years.
It's funny you guys mentioned that like they kind of introduce us to the multiverse theory and the idea of infinite realities. That kind of just blew over my head because it seems like everyone's been trying to capitalize on uh, what if there's an alternate reality where everybody's made of food, and they just somehow managed to make it so condensed and so like um instantaneous. Like it was all very explained so hurriedly that you don't even give it a second thought. You're just like, okay, this makes sense, and you just keep on watching it, and you're kind of sucked into that universe, or universes, if you will.
Yeah, no, you absolutely are, and Ahmed, again, like you mentioned, with how everybody's trying this multiversal stuff, and we see this a lot in art and entertainment, right? I mean, right now, everything that's hot is a comic book movie. There was a point where everything was hot was anything CGI, Transformers, as much CGI as FX as you can get, and are the rom coms for every holiday that were there a while back, and this movie isn't excluded from that, trying to find the popular thing of the time and try to make it good. What it's excluded from is that it's not a shitty version of everything that's popular. It is actually, to me, it is the gold standard of everything that is popular. You are able, like you guys said, it explains it in such a quick and I guess hastily made way that it's also a simple way. It's an easy way for like the simple mind of an eighth grader can understand it, or a doctor with a science degree can understand it. Let's jump into our favorite scenes though, because I'm interested in finding out what y'all's are. For me, this was one of the hardest things. What about you, Jeff and Ahmed?
Yeah, so obviously I love the hot dog universe and the fingers and everything like that. Oh my god, that had me dying the entire time. Uh, and you know, all the different multiverses were cool to see, but honestly, uh, the ending, and I don't want to be the guy that jumps straight to the ending, but I'm going to. When Evelyn is fighting all the people coming after her with kindness, I thought was so creative. Like this guy comes up to her and she cracks his back, and he's just like fine with it. He's like, "Oh, now I'm feeling better," and it's just such a different ending than what you're expecting. And that whole sequence in the tax office, I thought, was one of the best filmmaking sequences of the entire movie. So, yeah.
I think my favorite scene. I'm a romantic at heart, and that scene where you kind of see Waymond in different realities, but he's giving that voiceover speech where he's like explaining, you know, you see me as weak, you see me as simple minded and naive, but really that's just how I, go about life. I'm a fighter just like you. I just fight with kindness by seeing the good in the world. And ultimately, it was his love letter to her. And even like after she, signs divorce papers in one of the realities, there's still a point where he's making a point to kind of save her from herself. And that was just, that devotion just really kind of, it brought a tear to my eye. That and switching gears, that scene and a complete 180, the scene where they're fighting, the fight scenes where one of them is Joy's fighting, and then she's got the two dildos in her hand. I thought that was a completely different dynamic. I'm sorry.
Bloody dildos, something I didn't think I'd
Bloody
see in that
dildos.
movie.
That, and then those two guys fighting Michelle Yao with those things up their butates.
That's right.
Yes, yes.
Just like, what the hell am I watching? I was praying to God, my wife or my mother, two of the worst people walking in, going, "What the hell are you watching?" And how
Oh
am I
man,
supposed to explain that to them?
I love that we have multiple scenes because man, let me tell like I don't know, and I'm gonna have a hard time thinking my least favorite scene. I'm still trying to figure out which one it is. I have so many favorite scenes, and I love all the fight scenes. I love all the multiversal ones. I love Evelyn's first time she does a verse jump. Um, but I think my favorite scenes are kind of a collection of little nuances, as I mentioned, that you see. That attention to detail is really what gets me in a lot of movies. Which is why I love the Harry Potter universe, the attention to details to connect them throughout 7 movies. It's why I love a lot of the Marvel universe. It's why I anger with the DC universe because they're connecting to nothing. Um, and with this one, it was just like little tricks. Evelyn's failure to identify Joy as a lesbian to her grandfather. Just the divorce papers. Little tiny things that tells you why this universe is the shittiest universe and why Joy turns to be the devil in all reality, are just my favorite things about this. As for my least favorite one, if you guys don't mind, I'll just jump into mine and let y'all go. I really don't think I have one. What I had prepared written was this movie to me is perfect. The worst thing, I guess, is did it really have to be a bagel? Because it did seem like a little like taking the seriousness away from it. But then again, there's a quote that Wayman says, like, if nothing matters, then we get to choose what it does. We have the choice to look at the bright side of things, and we get to choose who matters to us most. Even something as trivial as doing laundry and taxes can mean the most if it means doing it with the love of your life. And that goes
I
back
would
to the
do laundry and
romanticism in
taxes with
you.
you. I
I
would
would
love
do
to
That
do
shit
laundry
almost
laundry.
in
made me
every other
cry.
universe.
I did
It's
cry,
just like,
you guys. I
Yeah.
did
and
cry.
but like he tied like that what he's saying ties into the everything bagel. So even though the bagel to me is a little silly, and yeah, maybe there could have been a different way to portray that, it ties into one of the most heart wrenching romantic sayings in an action adventure sci-fi movie you're really ever gonna get. You know, um, so I don't know that there's a least favorite scene for me.
I also think this movie is perfect. And there's very few perfect movies, but this is one of the perfect movies. So, I mean, this movie like shocked the hell out of me. I think it shocked the hell out of everybody that's seen it because A24, they're smaller movies on a scale. I don't think anybody saw this coming. When I first saw the preview in theaters, I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Are they trying to be like Marvel?" And I kind of laughed it off. I was completely wrong about it. And I'm happy I was, and I'm happy this movie came out, and I think it's going to pave the way for like more creative filmmakers down the line. It's like a new breed of people making their movies, and I really liked what this movie's going to do for the future of filmmaking.
You guys are gonna make me be the jerk here and pick a least favorite scene? Fine, I'll do
Yes.
it. I'll take your bait. You want to know? I'll tell you since you won't keep hassling me. uh, my least favorite was when the grandfather. His real name is leaving my brain for a moment, but he really steals the scene. I want to say his first name is James, but uh, Gong 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 Alpha Gong. in the movie, Grandpa,
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
the grandfather, whenever he tells Evelyn, who's played by Michelle Yao, that she has to make a really, you know, big sacrifice. I'm not going to include any spoilers here, but she has to make a huge sacrifice. And, you know, she's not willing to do it. But then, you know, she ends up making another sacrifice by stabbing somebody close to her, like later on. Like, wait, what? So you're not going to make this sacrifice, but you'll make that sacrifice? And I guess that being said, I just really liked the back and forth with the grandpa. I think I would have liked to see him more. Not even I think, I would have liked to see him more because, you know, I think he would have been able to give Evelyn more of a he would have made her more well-rounded because we could have seen a little bit more of her own trauma that ultimately led to this generation of cyclical trauma.
Let's move a little bit into our favorite actors and actresses. I don't want y'all to rank them because I think I know that everybody that was in this. I think we all know that everybody was in this film knocked it out of the park.
Oh
We
yeah.
want we want more of almost everybody, um, but my favorite one is the lead actress, Michelle Yeoh as Evelyn. Fantastic, but also Stephanie Sue as Joy. I think those two are my favorites. With special hat tip to Jamie Lee Curtis because this is my second time rewatching it, and I completely missed that Jamie Lee Curtis was the tax lady the first time around. So, damn, maybe she should be higher up my list, but she was great.
Yeah. I loved Waymond, honestly. I thought Waymond was the heart of the movie, really. And he's just like such a sweet dude. Like everything that guy did. Like I was like, oh, okay. I really do like this guy. And the actor, I guess, was like the little kid in the Goonies and Indiana Jones, and like he was a child actor and he came back to play this part. But to see him kind of doing like martial arts and everything, I thought was pretty cool. I love Michelle Yao as Evelyn, and then Joy is great too. Just her story and all the multiversal versions of her are kind of the coolest ones to see because she wears all these like outlandish outfits, and yeah, the bagel universe
Slaps
that
people with
she's in
dildos.
charge of. Like everything is so good, so you can't go wrong. There's no bad characters in this movie.
Yeah, Wayman definitely my favorite. The grandpa was my favorite. Michelle and Stephanie, fantastic. But Jamie Lee Curtis, man, yeah, she did such a good job. And it's funny that you almost didn't recognize her, Gerald, because I was like, man, if you didn't know that was Jamie Lee Curtis, you would just be like, really taken aback because she just really blended into that role. Even every universe where she has to play a different version of herself, whether that's someone who's Michael Myers esque, no pun intended,
Yeah.
or you know where she's playing someone with hot dog fingers and is like, "Why don't you love me?"
Yeah, no, that movie was not movie, but Jamie Lee Curtis was fantastic, and her role in that movie reminds me a lot of Tom Hanks' role in the new Elvis movie that I just watched last week. In the sense of like, if you don't know it's Tom Hanks or if you don't know it's Jamie Lee Curtis, you could go a whole movie without realizing who that actor is. Um, there's little ticks in their face that they have that are definitely recognizable once you see it. But like, if nobody told you, yeah, it's hard to see. Let's go ahead and move on straight to rankings because I think we're all going to be in agreement on this one. But to me, this is a Hall of Fame movie. This is my favorite movie of the year. One of my favorite movies ever, to be honest. It's fun, it's exciting, and it tells a great story that I think, even if you're watching it with family, it's going to resonate with you whether you're a daughter, a mother, a son, a father, a widow, a divorcee. Like they can resonate with you for a lot of different situations, I believe.
Yeah, it's a easy Hall of Fame. It's not my favorite movie of the year. I think I still like Top Gun Maverick a little bit better, but it's very, very close, and it's just so rewatchable too. This is a movie that you can watch multiple times and probably pick up a whole bunch of different things. And I really love movies that keep rewarding you for multiple rewatches, and that's what this movie is. And it's a family uh, story at the end of the day, and the message is great. So easy Hall of Fame.
It's definitely a Hall of Fame. There's so many elements to it. It is a family story, but we also have to recognize it is rated R. It's not something that I could show my mother, which is sad because uh, my sisters are probably going to watch this, so I'm going to recommend that they watch this too. They're probably going to watch this podcast, and I'm saying now that a lot of the dynamic between the mom and the daughter kind of reminded me of my own family, you know, and maybe it's just an Asian thing, but you know, that sort of family dynamic and just all that. It's definitely my favorite movie of the year so far because you know there's still so many things coming out, and I want to keep myself surprised. This definitely blew me away with its rewatchability, with its special effects, with just everything.
Yeah, no, and I like you said, the family dynamic, and I love that it, even though bad Stephanie, bad Joy is from a different universe, like her reaction the first time she sees her mom in the tax office, and her mom says what some kind of sly about something, and she goes like, "What? You're still hung up on the fact that I'm gay in this universe?" And
Yeah.
like just little things like that, again, just nuances that they throw in there. And yeah, it is a rated R film that like you might not want to watch if a 9 year old, but if you're able to get family members to put aside their um, I don't know if beliefs is the word, but like believe like things that they may or may not like in a movie, cursing, the occasional dildo. Um,
The
yeah,
occasional dildo.
it's like
There's not
it's
many
like I said.
dildos in this movie, but
I
there
mean,
is the occasional one.
it's still a great film, but I want to wrap this up. If there's anything else you guys want to say about this film, um, is there?
I
See it,
have.
see
Go
it.
ahead.
If it's nominated for an Oscar, I'll care about the Oscars this year.
Yeah.
So
I really hope it does get nominated for an Oscar. I think a lot of people should watch it, not just for the multiverse or for the family dynamic, the cultural aspect of it as well. Um, One of the things that you know really resonated with me was the fact that Michelle Yao speaks to her father in Mandarin, or I'm sorry, in Cantonese, but then she talks to her husband in Cantonese. No, I'm sorry, she talks to her father in Cantonese, but she talks to her husband in Mandarin, and then her daughter speaks broken Chinese back to her, and just that having to just including that just really resonated with me culturally. It kind of just showed um, the reality of it. Even though it's a movie about different realities, this is the reality where we still have language barriers and as a result of generational gaps.
And that's another like this movie does highlight the Asian community and POC very well, I believe, and it gives a good platform, and if it ends up winning an Oscar, I hope more people see it because a lot of people have seen this movie. It did very well, but more people need to see it. It needs to be a movie everybody sees. It needs to be one of those movies that in 20 years, like when we look back at the first Jurassic Park or Star Wars, like we look at movies like that as big cultural events. This to me needs to be a cultural event that everybody needs to see and everybody because it has so many great things for the Asian community, for the people who love adventure and romance and comedy and everything. And I think it's just one of those things we need to do. But I think we're going to go ahead and step back. You guys definitely need to see this movie. And while you're watching it, when you're done watching it and you realize you want to thank us for pushing you toward watching it finally, hit the like and subscribe button on your Spotify app, your podcast app. Hit the notifications button on YouTube so you get a notification every time we post something. Because Jeff did a great one with Better Call Saul. We did a good She-Hulk one. We're going to follow up with that. And later, I believe this week, we're going to record an episode on Only Murders in the Building Season 2 finale, because I have been keeping you, Jeff and I know I've been keeping up with that one. And Selena Gomez, thank you for coming back after all those years since Wishes of Waverly Place. And Steve Martin, and like the whole cast of that show was just great, and the writing's great. So again, thank you guys for Ahmed, for Jeff. I'm Gerald, and thank you for watching and listening to Box Office Quarterbacks podcast. We'll see you guys soon, and keep the nerd shit to a minimal.